often, depending on where you start in the vulnerability assessment / ethical hacking process, in other words, depending on whether it's gray box, white box, or black box testing, you may or may not start off with scanning or reconnaissance. Reconnaissance is usually going to be black box testing. Now, assuming we go ahead and move on into the scanning phase, whether it be after reconnaissance or the beginning of the process itself, the concept of scanning is really where we start touching the computers and interacting with various network nodes and components for the first time. The idea here is that we scan the networks to determine what's out there, what hosts are living on the networks, what individual routers might be out there. Just kind of get a mental picture, or using the program CHEOPS, for example, get a visual picture of how the network is laid out. If there are multiple subnets, there might be various VLANs, for example, that traffic can't cross or traverse. And this is going to give us a pretty good starting point for establishing a good picture of the network and what's out there. There are different types of scans and different types of tools to perform scans. There's probably 150,000 different tools out there that can be used to scan networks. So each individual tool has strengths and weaknesses. Nmap is probably one of the most common specific scanning tools because its sole purpose in life is to scan systems, check for ports, see if the system is alive, possibly enumerate information about that system. Its primary goal is to get out there and scan the network and discover hosts and information about those hosts. So depending on the type of scan that's necessary, you're going to probably swap your Swiss Army knife of tools around a little bit to accomplish that goal. Now, one thing that should definitely be noted about scanning is that it is very easily picked up by intrusion detection systems. And although that might seem kind of scary at first when performing vulnerability assessment, it's actually not a big deal for us because scans happen on such a regular basis on the internet and sometimes even on the local network that a lot of intrusion detection systems will simply disregard those, or the people reading the logs from the intrusion detection system will disregard those. So you don't really worry too much about getting picked up by an IDS system when scanning is occurring, because you probably will, but chances are no one will pay it a lot of attention unless you consistently scan over and over again. And there are definitely ways of performing scanning that will try to avoid being picked up by intrusion detection systems, such as alternating targets and bouncing around the network so it doesn't look like you're consecutively scanning numbers. Now, once we've scanned the network, we've gathered up basically a list of nodes that exist out there. We're going to be ready to move on to our next part, which is gathering even more information about those nodes on the network.